lot of times they're just trying to get back to that person that they fell in love with. And so you can kind of look up and think, how did I get here, when you've just been in the process of building a relationship with a person who has issues.
When we first got together, he was very supportive. Cause like I was a cheerleader, so he would come to games to watch me cheer. He would give me money to get me food after the games and stuff, because that was a major thing after high school games. And he was very, very sweet and charming. He would talk to me about things that I wanted to talk about that I couldn't discuss things with other people. It was just very charming, very charming.
And he seemed to kind of be everything that I was not. Kind of a bad boy, and my parents were kind of strict, and I think I was attracted to that part of him that was just different from me.
First encounter with domestic violence, I remember it was back prom night, my senior prom night, and I had got a text after prom. It was late, like 2 o'clock in the morning, and it was from one of my close guy friends, and he had texted me, "You look very beautiful tonight. I hope you had a great time. I love you." And he heard the phone go off, and at that moment he didn't react to it, but I could tell in his like his whole demeanor changed, and I could tell that he was upset, but he didn't let me know right then. And so the next day, social media is a thing, and so I looked at social media, and he had made a tweet about me particularly, and I knew it was about me, but I just didn't say anything about it. And so the next couple of days, he had came over and he had asked, "Can I see your phone?" And I didn't think nothing of it at that moment because I knew I wasn't doing anything. And so I was like, "Yeah, sure, you can see my phone." So I gave him my phone, and he went exactly to the message thread, to that exact message, and he read it, and he automatically threw my phone, and he took his hands and started mashing it behind my neck. And I was at home with my mom at the time, and my mom heard the commotion, so she came out, and he hurried up and instantly, backed away, and at that moment, she had just asked him to leave. And I got upset because when he left, I didn't know where our relationship was going at that moment. And I was upset with my mom because she made him leave. And I did have my car at that time. So of course I left too. And I followed him and we went to his house, and I was crying, and in that moment, that was the first time that I told him I love him. And in that moment, I believe that's when he knew he had his control over me.
And this is a thing that when I work with teens, it can be a point that's kind of hard to get across, because they look at jealousy as maybe, oh, they love me so much, or as a favorable thing. But what we teach is that no, jealousy to the point where someone's trying to control what you wear, or they're trying to control where you go, what you post on social media, that's a red flag. That's a warning sign. Someone calling you excessively, someone tracking your moves or tracking you through different apps or whatnot, a person who is demeaning you, verbally saying things to you, putting you down, not building you up, wanting to hog all your time. Power and control they're two of those pivotal things in domestic violence. So when a person is not open to being able to have some balance, where we spend some time together and then we have some alone time, maybe projects you want to do or hobbies that you have that they don't want you to continue, that would be a red flag. Trying to isolate you from family, that would be a red flag. So those are some of the things that we talk about with individuals, well, with teens in prevention, but then those are some of the things that we hear when we have individuals come in and describe their stories.
Like he seemed to want to keep me to himself. Didn't really seem to want me around my family a lot. Was more about our time together and the things that we did together. And not as much about the time that I spent with my family, or he and I spending time together with my family, or him coming to church with me or other activities with me. It was just more about me coming to pick him up and us doing things together. He kind of sectioned me off from everybody else.
I had my son in my arms, and I was getting ready to walk out the door, actually trying to leave the relationship and leave my abuser and his father. And he had 2 bullets on the table, and he was just sitting there with the gun in his lap and his hands crossed, and he was looking at us, and he was like, which one of these bullets do you think are for you? And in that moment, I realized that this is going to be a lot harder for me to leave than I thought it would be, because I have to think about the safety of not only for me, but especially for my son. So that was the most critical moment of that relationship, because I knew that I couldn't just physically leave, that I had to mentally get a plan together to leave.
Probably one of the worst incidents of physical abuse. We were riding down the road and again had been arguing about something stupid. My cousin wanted to use my car to try for his license that day, and my abuser did not agree. And we were arguing and tussling in the car, and then I thought things had kind of calmed down, and I kept hearing something flicker, and he was actually trying to light a match under my arm while I was driving.
When you choose to leave the situation, that's going to be the most dangerous time for you. So to really take some extra steps to look out for your safety. One of the things that I notice in helping individuals is a person will come to us and say, I never thought they would have done this, that, and the third. So never underestimate an individual. Be over precautious. Take the extra steps to make sure that you're safe, because you just never know what a person might do, and you just don't want to take that for granted. So value yourself above everything else. You've got to be ready. That's one thing when I work with clients and do direct services, I'm assessing when we're doing our initial intake where they are on my readiness scale, and knowing and being okay with that. I want to stress and drive home the point that, the different assessments that we're using, the way that you've answered these questions, people have been killed in situations where they've answered questions similarly as you have. But given all that, I have to come where she is, or he or she is, and assess and understand where they are. Because not everyone, when they walk through our doors or when they call our hotline, is ready to leave the situation. So you've got to make up in your mind when you're ready to leave the situation. And I think we as providers in different areas of the work that we do just have to meet people where they are. And if they're not ready to leave, maybe counseling is what's needed. But if they are ready to leave, then okay, we're checking to see if we've got room in our safe house. If we don't have it in our county, let's call over to the next county. Just kind of seeing what kind of resources are available. But you have to make up in your mind when you're ready to be done. And statistically, it takes a woman 7 to 9 times to leave a situation that's violent, that's abusive.
Oddly enough, what did it for me was the fact that we were about to lose our home. We had gone through a rough season in our finances, and he wasn't working, and they were already about to start foreclosure proceedings. And the lady from the mortgage company called and said, if you don't send in even this partial payment, I can't help you. And I had been praying about a way out and what to do to get away from him, because I realized the situation was no longer safe and things were not going to change. And we had some money from a settlement from a car accident, and he used it all on alcohol and drugs. And it was like the straw that broke the camel's back. If he can't even provide a place for us to stay, that's it. I'm out. As crazy as it was.
So it was July 2015, July 31st, 2015 to be exact. He was a major drug dealer, and they had a drug bust, and it took a lot to get him out, and so we didn't have any money because of having to get him out. And so that night he came in and he was like, "Can I get your credit card to go get some cigarettes?" And I wouldn't get my card, because if this is the only thing we have, then we need to we need to think about this and have money to get our son some things, and food, of course, and gas. And I wouldn't give in. In that moment, I was playing on my phone, and he automatically punched me in my face, and he said, but if that was your sister or your best friend asking you that, I'm sure you would acknowledge them. And so when he automatically said that, I just reached and gave him my credit card because I already knew what was coming after that first punch. And he just threw the card, and he told me to go in the bathroom. Our son was laying on the couch at that moment. Thankfully, he was asleep. He told me to go in the bathroom, and he held me in the bathroom for 3 hours, just physically beating me, mentally abusing me, saying things, saying disgrading things, calling me out of my name, things that abusers, do. And so during that 3 hours, like, my face was so swollen, you couldn't really recognize who I was. And so things died down, and he came out of the bathroom, and he went to sleep. And 3 hours passed, and my son was still asleep on the couch. And I'm pretty sure he had a seizure, because that was one of his conditions. And so that pretty much kept him asleep for that long. And so in that moment, I just started packing my son's bag, and I texted my mom. I was like, Mom, I can no longer do this. I need you to come get me. But I want you to play it safe and just say you're tired of me coming, tired of me dealing with this. So you're coming to get your daughter and your grandson. Of course, my mom did not listen. So she had texted one of my big cousins, and she was like, Big is in trouble and we need to get her out. So it was like 8 o'clock in the morning. This was, of course, August the 1st now. And I heard a knock on my door. Kai's bag was on the couch. I didn't pack me anything. I did not care if I just wanted my son, his stuff, and him to be okay. And so I heard a knock on the door. I looked out the peephole, and I seen just my mom. So I was like, okay, great. I opened the door instantly shoved in, and it was my cousin. And that pretty much ended in a physical fight. And that's how I left my abuser. So the Victoria now would tell the Victoria back then that you don't have to seek love from someone else to be whole. You need to find love within yourself first, love yourself first, care for you first before you try to care for someone else. And that way, when you know how to love and accept yourself, someone else will know how to love and accept you. And you'll know what love to accept from others, because you wouldn't want anyone to love you less than you love yourself.
My story ends happily ever after. I am remarried. I've been remarried now for 11 years. And I wrote a book called Love Nuggets that gives practical tips for healthy relationships. I think because I learned everything that love was not, I'm now walking in everything that love is. And my current husband just adores me. And there was so many things that I prayed for regarding marriage and love that I found with him. I've also started an organization to help other domestic violence victims called Ladies of Purpose. So my story ends very happy and very full of life.